Hey guys, so I have another build video for you, and this time it's on X99. And actually this build is for a game developer called 2D Bros, and I'll link their information down below somewhere in the video description. You can check them out if you want. But they wanted an 8-core CPU with decent single-threaded performance. So I decided to go with X99. And we're on a little bit of a budget here. So there's a couple compromises. So mainly with we're going with an air cooler and dual channel memory instead of quad channel memory. And so I'm going to go through the parts list, fast forward through the build a little bit, and get hopefully some overclocking with this cooler, and get you some benchmarks. So let's get into it. So like I said, we're going to be using X99. So we're going to be using the 5960X for the CPU, which is an 8-core 16-thread CPU based on Haswell E. And for the motherboard, we will be using the EVGA Micro 2. It's a MATX X99 motherboard. We will also be using 2 sticks of Corsair Vengeance LPX memory. For the CPU cooler, we're going to be using the Xiaomi Max 9900. It's a air cooler, and the power supply we're using is the Cobra Power 800 watt. We will also be using for the boot drive a M.2 SSD, the Intel 760p. The GPU we're using is the GTX 1080, and I will be using the case that I reviewed. If you want to check that out, please go ahead. It's the Bravotech Defy B40. It's a Korean case, not very well known. It's an MATX case, it's white. So many of you have probably figured out the weakest link on this build is the air cooler. So we're not going to be able to actually overclock to really high frequencies. So right now we're sitting at 4 gigahertz. We're using adaptive voltage. So 1 volt for the base voltage here, and then 75 millivolts. So total is 1.075. And that's giving us 4 gigahertz. And this is pretty much maxing out this cooler. So the cooler is sitting at around 80 C. I don't want to get it that much hotter than that. Even though the CPU might be okay, it's just not that good to run the CPU at that high temperatures. And this is going to be essentially a work computer, so it's got to be super stable and last. So we have that. We're just using XMP. This memory is utterly unimpressive. So you have 2.4 for the DDR4. It's stable memory, it's 16 gigs. There's nothing very special or impressive about it. And other than that, that's pretty much it for the BIOS. So let's get into some benchmarks.